too soon. I'm on my way to work, but I wanted to record. I mean, I guess technically this would be a because it's training video, but I don't really have a because it's training format. So as I go to work, I'm going to try not to rant, but try to be very concise about these three issues that I see online all the time. And I want to just I just want to just address these three issues. First thing I want to say is in 2026, people should get married. The statistics are broken because we don't really know how to do math, right? So they say that in the past, the statistics for the average person that was married was like 50%, or I think they said the statistic was like 66%. And then nowadays they say, oh, the statistic of this is significantly lower than it was in the past. The problem with values of percentages is that the percentage of a number is not the same as the actual number of people, right? The average percentage of people that are married is lower in the present than it was in the past. But the order of magnitude of exponential growth of the number of people that are alive today compared to the past is significantly higher. So the average number of people that are married now would be higher than the average number of people that were married in the past, even though the statistics show that marriage is on the decline. Marriage is not necessarily on the decline. It's just that by percentage value, marriage is lower now than it was in the past. But the number of people that are married in the present compared to the past is higher. And that's just basic mathematics. I don't have the time to go into the numbers and explain why that is the case, but just know that that's the case. The universal reason, all three of these things, abortion, dating, and marriage, the reason why I put all them together is because they all underline the same basic conflict. The most important thing in our society when it comes to two people coming together of opposite genders is to produce a child and to raise that child and to make that child raise that child to become a functional adult. If you raise children that have short lives, if you raise children that are not financially successful, financial success is not becoming a billionaire. Financial success is just being able to do whatever it is that you desire in your life and be able to afford it. Whatever quality of life you want to have and live the way that you want to live it. If a mother and a father raised their children to be able to obtain that, they were successful parents. If you told your kids to be a doctor, if your mother and your father told you to be a doctor and you became a doctor and you hate your life, your parents weren't successful at raising you. Like the dynamic of the individuality of what we should be doing in relation to what society says should be done are different, and they're polarized with each other. So a man and a woman should be able to produce children and raise their children with the understanding that they're unique individuals that are going to be successful in life. That should be the actual goal. All of this running around, battle of the sexes, all of this gender conflict stuff is noise, right? There are two dynamics that have to be addressed. Everybody under the age of 16, because of the age of consent. Hey, welcome to the stream. The other dynamic is the legal age of adulthood, which is 18. And it's a weird space between the age of 16 and 25 that is the conflict for everybody in the world. All of us people that are, hey, welcome to the stream. All of us people that are struggling with life, the conflict is in that spectrum. Because you can't give 6-year-olds all the information they need to be adults, and by the time you turn 18, you have spent your whole life being conditioned to be a child, that you're thrown out into the world with a childlike mentality, but the obligation and responsibility of adulthood. And it's confusing. And there's no way to really address it. The average female spends the vast majority of her life before the age of 18 being told, don't have kids. That's it. Not don't have kids for this reason, don't have kids for that reason, don't have kids for this reason, don't have kids for that reason. It's just don't have kids. Don't have kids, don't have sex, right? The only reason why adults say that is because they don't want premature children. If a 6-year-old girl gets pregnant and gives birth to a healthy child, the 6-year-old girl is not obligated to take care of that child. the parents are obligated to take care of that child until that 6-year-old child becomes 18, right? So the girl wants to be a parent even if she doesn't consciously is aware of it, and the 6-year-old boy wants to be a parent even if they're not consciously aware of it. And for some reason, we live in this super sensitive society that thinks that it's weird to have discussions with 16-year-olds about becoming parents. Like, I don't understand. It's gonna happen sooner or later, so why is it so taboo? Because we don't want people to prey on and abuse kids. Well, we have a society that's built on preying on and abusing adults because we can't address the actual child part of it. So now we got a bunch of 21, 22, 23-year-olds that are being preyed upon by other adults because we're not informed properly to be able to be functional in society. I'm not saying that 100% of people are dysfunctional. I'm saying that because of the way society is designed, it has created an unnecessary condition that nobody wants to address. Nobody wants to address the unnecessary condition that exists. It should be perfectly okay and perfectly normal for an 18-year-old boy to walk up to an 18-year-old girl and be like, hey, let's have kids and start a family together. That should be a normal conversation that could be had. It should be completely normal for an 18-year-old boy to walk up to an 18-year-old girl to be like, I like you. I think that me and you can make kids and be responsible adults and live together and provide for one another and do all of the things that is necessary to form a family and have children and raise those kids to adulthood and make functional members of society and have grandkids. Like, that should be a conversation that should be able to be had. There's no reason why a 20-year-old guy can't walk up to a 20-year-old girl and be like, here's my plan on how I want to structure and start a family and contribute to society. This is what I want to do and how I want to operate inside of the system that we live in. And I think me and you should be able to make kids together, right? That should be a conversation that should be able to be had, right? The average female, when it comes to abortion, I am not pro-abortion. I don't think that women should be able to abort children for any reason. I think that abortion as a tool should exist in the most extreme conditions to save a woman's life. Doctors have a note to do no harm. If we're not going to say that pregnancy is an abnormality, can I get over? Like, I don't understand why people won't just let you over. If look at that, like, it doesn't even make any sense. I have my blinker on. Just let me over. We do this every day. Just let me over. Anyway, if doctors are not willing to say that pregnancy is abnormality, it's an illness and a disease to the functional female body, then it should not be okay to abort a fetus because it's part of a normal biological human process. Becoming pregnant is a normal biological human process that has been defined and established through empirical means to show what is considered normal and what is considered abnormal. So if a female becomes pregnant through natural processes, which is just insemination, she shouldn't have the right to abort the child. She just shouldn't. And I know it's all taboo and there's all this other underlining stuff that's going to be said, and what about this situation, what about that situation? But here's the problem. Here's the real problem. If you want to hold men 100% accountable for being providers to children that are born, but don't want to allow those same men access to the child because it's possible that men could become predators and hurt and abuse children, then women should also not be allowed to have abortions. If a man in society has to be held accountable for being a father for a child, and we do not have the right to eliminate our ability to be legally obligated to take care of children that we produce, no matter how we produce them. If you're not willing to have that conversation, and you're not willing to allow men to be like, okay, I'm gonna just write away my rights to this child, and I'm not gonna be a father, I'm not gonna be financially responsible, I'm not gonna be emotionally responsible, I'm not gonna give any of my time or energy to this child that I produce with this woman. If you're not willing to do that, then a woman should not be allowed to rip a child out of her body and cease the function of a normally developing fetus, right? We should be able to have that conversation. That's the problem with society. We should be able to, at the age of 18 to 25, have a conversation about that. This idea that it should be okay for women to both abort a child and also simultaneously be allowed to force men to pay child support for children that they will have their access restricted to because they may or may not actually be abusive or sexual offenders, like all of that unnecessary stuff. If you're not willing to have that discussion, then there's no need to have the conversation. I think it's perfectly normal that a 18-year-old male should not be allowed to be left alone with an 18-year-old or with a child or adolescent adult or adolescent kid, because maybe, right? I think it's perfectly acceptable and normal. That's not the conversation we're having. The conversation we're having is, how can we use a system that is designed to take advantage of adults to further take advantage of healthy men while simultaneously making sure that they do not raise children in such a way that it will not be in compliance with the society that we have designed, which is, in America, white supremacy. How do we maximize the possibility that only healthy Caucasian children will be successful members of society, while simultaneously making sure that all non-Caucasian children will be unsuccessful in society? That is the structure of the world we live under. And we see it every day in the way that things operate in this world. And it is to nobody's benefit. It is to nobody's benefit. If you want to be a successful Caucasian and you want to build a society and provide services to facilitate your ability to be able to take care of and provide for yourself and your family, and you have the majority of your people are non-European, non-Caucasian Americans, but they're broke as fuck, who are you going to sell your goods and services to be able to provide for your family? You would rather invest in what? Criminal systems to make sure that the majority of non-European, non-Caucasian Americans are policed instead of just allowing them to be functional adults at the possibility that maybe your children will have to compete equally against other non-European children? Like, how does any of that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. Like, this is the conflict. So I made the work. I got 2 minutes before I'm late. So when I go home, hopefully I'll be able to finish part 2. But as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I've given you my 2 cents. That's it's not structured.